my specific team, and what I noticed was that there are some key things that people are missing out in the interviews, in resumes. And I think 2 months ago or so, I started taking interviews of freshers also, of the previous batch, and incidentally happened to take some interviews of RNS students as well. So I really felt there are some key things that perhaps would have helped some more students. So that's why I have made some points on what you need to take care in an interview, and also some things before the interview as well. Yeah. So I'll talk about some preparations that you need to do before the interview first. It involves you to also prepare the resume as well. So a little bit, I'll touch a little some points on resume preparation as well. So in your resume, you need to highlight your skills, whatever you know, be it some programming language, or be it some technology that you have maybe done some course on, or be it some microcontrollers that you would be working with. It can be Raspberry Pi also, things that are not just covered in a curriculum. If you have done something on that, try to highlight them as much as possible in your in a separate section in your resume called skills, so that the interviewer will be able to see this very, very soon. And the interviewer usually does not have too much of time actually to see and read everything. They spend maybe around 2 minutes to scan through your resume and depend a lot on interview to know you better. But to filter out easily, it's always better to showcase your skills that the company is interested in, and try to highlight your mini projects and projects in it in such a way that the interviewer gets interested in knowing more about it. Don't write it in complete detail, just enough to convey the meaning and put interest in the interviewer. So that's something that you can take care in your resume. Then the second most important thing is try to know about your company, whichever company you are attending. Do some research as to what they are involved in. So broadly, I can say there are two, for EC students, there would be two kind of companies usually that will be coming for placement. One is the core EC company, which involves all either related to communication side, network subjects, and VLSI, these kind of things. Or on the other hand, you have the mass recruiters for the software, all software companies usually, like Infosys, Wipro, Accenture, these kind of things. Yeah. So you need to prepare them differently for each company. So it is better you do a little bit of research, what the company does, and try to relate it to your subjects that you have done in your engineering now, or that you're already, maybe you have done some projects on them. So try to relate those things and highlight those things in your resume as well. So for or like core EC companies like Texas Instruments or any other design, chip design or VLSI related company, you need to know those subjects very, very well, and they will go much more deep in it in the interview. I have not done interviews for these companies, but I do know how the process works. So you need to be good in maybe op amps, AEC, your VLSI, Verilog labs that were there. So try doing more than perhaps what is there in the syllabus. If this is what you have already decided to pursue your career in these kind of companies, use mini projects to your advantage, use final projects for your advantage. So for me as well, it was something like this, that I was working on MATLAB in my final year project, and I got interested into programming. That has actually helped me to be in the programming domain throughout. Every day I work with MATLAB and Simulink now in my work. So it made it easy for the recruiter to put me in their team itself. The moment I gave interview, they knew that I'll be a good fit for the team. Try to be like that. Whichever industry or whichever subject you feel you are confident in and you want to pursue that career, put more focus on it in your resume, as well as try to highlight those points in your interview. Yeah, and coming to software companies now, where I think it's probably much easier now in this video uh, kind of a scenario where we don't have the luxury to ask you more questions in front of you. So to some extent, all these nervousness and all should be reduced, I feel. And nobody will be asking you for a lot of time. So all these interviews will be scheduled maybe for 30 minutes or so in case of software companies. So I feel it's much easier today than it was before pandemic. So in software companies, the biggest advantage you have is they are looking for a student who can learn quickly. That's the main thing that they're looking. And it is always beneficial if you know some programming. Now, knowing programming does not mean you need to know all the languages fluently, like Java, Python, C, or any other new languages that are there now, but it is to know the basic construct of how these programming languages work, when to use if, when to use for, loops, and or how does an algorithm work. So these are the things that are core that you need to understand. Then on top of that, if you know at least one programming language very well, it is easier for you to assess on that. And the companies would be willing to train you guys also on different languages that are used in their company. So even if you know just one language, put it in your resume, but make sure that you know it very well. So I'll now move on to some tips in the interview. So there are the interview is structured in such a way that it gives you a chance to be selected. It's only by not doing something or doing something wrongly that you can reduce their chances of being selected. So some simple questions are asked to you in the beginning, like introduce yourself or tell me more about yourself. This is actually a very good opportunity which a lot of people don't use very well. So what they usually do is they start saying whatever is there on the resume and then stick to only what is already something that the interviewer knows. Recently in one of the RNS IT interviews, I was actually very happy to see one of the candidate was able to say something which is beyond the resume. So it gave me a chance to know who this person is. So the candidate talked about personality traits which were not mentioned in the resume, and this actually kind of steered the interview further. So it's always better if you can also say something about yourself. You can start with whatever is there on your resume to begin with, but try to give something else to the interviewer so that you can connect with them. That's very important. In any interview, if you are able to establish that connection with the interviewer and say, yes, this person will be a good fit for the team or for the company, then I think you will be selected easily. So try to use that introduce yourself question. It is going to be a standard question for most of the interviews that you will take. Yeah. Second tip, it's also linked to kind of the preparation part. It's to know in and out of your project. You should be able to answer any question that is asked about the project. Usually, interviewers would not expect you to know whatever is there in the industry directly. So they will rely a lot on what project you have done and how well you are able to communicate and explain to the interviewer. So that's very important. So it is beneficial if you can answer all the question of a project, because that is your domain, and make it a point to also describe your role when you are explaining the project. So generally all these final year project at least will have some more team members in you in your department. So um, and everybody will have different roles to play in it. Somebody would be designing, somebody would be implementing, somebody would be documenting, and something like this would be arranged. But try to make it a point not to stick to just one role, like let's say preparing the report or presentation. So that's not a very good role. If you're in that, don't mention it in your interview, but try to give them the feel that yes, this person can take responsibility of a particular topic which is of high importance in the overall project. And generally they will ask you question based on your role. For example, if you were in let's say designing the algorithm or something you would have written for a microcontroller project, then they would ask you what challenges you faced in the algorithm, how many algorithms you tried. So these kind of things. So you should be well prepared with whatever you are mentioning about your project in the interview. That kind of determines the flow of the interview, and also the final decision of whether you'll go to the next round or not is also highly dependent on this part. Then another interesting thing that I saw in one of the interviews with the RNS student was that um, the resume looked perfect for my team, but when I took interview, unfortunately, it was not matching that at all. So uh, the reason was probably, I don't know, the candidate was nervous maybe, or it seemed like they were not able to answer very well, or maybe underprepared for the interview. So um, I asked a question, what is MATLAB? The response I got was Matrix Laboratory. And then there was a awkward pause of 10 seconds because I was waiting for the candidate to explain more. And the candidate was waiting for me to ask the next question. This one line answer was not appropriate for the question. So the point to take away from this instance is try to answer appropriately whatever question is asked. If somebody asks you to describe something, at least you can give, if it has a short form in the question, then you can explain the full form, what it is, and then explain something more, what you can do with it, or something like that. Even if it's just expanding the full form, then for each word there is some meaning hidden. That's why they have kept it together. So what you could do is just explain the entire full form in such a way that the interviewer knows that you know something about this question, or the topic that is being asked. There is another interesting part in an interview, which might not happen always, but try to make it happen whenever it's possible. It's usually the last 5 minutes. So the interview might be scheduled for half an hour for most of the companies. So it will go on for 20 minutes. And by that time, the interviewer has a fairly good idea of whether to send you to the next round or not. But the decision is not yet made till the interview is over. So generally, we as an interviewer have a checklist that we have to fill, and there are different things mentioned in it, like engineering strength, how well it is, some programming skills, communication, teamwork, all these things are there. um, so usually the last part, I have not seen many people use this, but if it's used, it can make wonders. Even if the interviewer feels you are okay-ish kind of a candidate and has not yet made up their mind, this last 5 minutes will play a crucial role. Usually the interviewer will ask, do you have any questions for me? um, and this one I've seen, I ask this question for every interview that I take. So nobody asks much. Even if they ask things like, how was my interview, will I get selected or not? Yeah, these kind of things are asked. This is not the best use of this last 5 minutes. Try not to ask questions on how the interview went. If it has gone well, then yes, the interviewer will say it has gone well, more or less they will try to give hint. But if it has not, then the interviewer might hesitate to say no. It's always difficult to say no to a person who has come up with some lot of expectations from the interview. So try not asking this question as much as possible on how interview went, will I be selected or not. Don't do this. Instead, ask about the company or the role. That's why I told in the beginning, know about the company that you are giving the interview to. You can ask very simple questions like, tell me more about your role and responsibilities in your company. You can ask a typical day in your life, in your typical working day, maybe how it feels and what all it entails. What does your team do? Such kind of things. This shows to the interviewer that yes, this candidate is interested in the company, interested in the team, perhaps. And overall, if I see that this candidate is okayish, but the kind of interest that this candidate has is more than perhaps other people that have been interviewed. So the chances of selecting this candidate will increase a lot. So this last 5 minutes, you should make use of as much as possible, but try to ask thoughtful questions. Don't ask questions simply for the sake of asking because you have time. It also shows what kind of questions you might ask in the future if at all the candidate selects you. So it gives a good idea of how you think. Do you see the big picture, or do you see smaller picture? It's very important in a team to have a big picture and try to be curious. So all these attributes we are actually seeing when the interview is held. So these are the main tips. A general tip in the end: try to smile. At least at the beginning of the interview, I've seen most of the students are so nervous that they don't even smile. Usually it begins with a greeting, and try smile at that time, connect to the person. The interviewer is also a human being, and try to smile. It will make an impact in an overall manner on the interviewer. It shows about you as a person. Nobody wants to work with a person who is very serious and does not smile, uh, or be like a human. We don't want to work with robots. So this plays very vital role once you join your whichever company you're joining. So it plays a vital role in the team to show enthusiasm, to show that you are approachable. So all these things are in a way conveyed when you kind of conduct the interview. So smile, it's very simple thing, nothing much to do from your side. Anybody can do it. Yeah, so just have that feeling of, yes, you are talking casually with the interviewer. Most interviewer will be trying to make you calm and give you that environment where you can speak. Nobody wants to pressurize you. At least the software companies that come to placement, they won't be doing this um, to make you feel nervous. Nobody tries to do that. They try to ease as much as possible, we can get some cues whether the candidate is nervous right now or not. So we modulate the interview in that way. We have been told to do it as well. That sometimes people get nervous, so that's why we ask them easy questions in the beginning to make them feel confident when they answer. Um, so these are the tips that I thought I can share with you all, so that you guys use them for whichever companies you are attending. Yes, so I am mainly done with my part. So if there are any questions from students, they can ask.
Good morning, Padmakar. I have one question to you.
Yes, sir.
How are you doing?
Oh, wonderful. I'm doing good, sir.
Oh, it is so nice to hear you.
Yes, sir. I also I was wondering what you will ask now, but what you asked is perhaps reminded me of how it was in when we were attending your classes. So it kind of took me back there.
How can I forget you? My hand is fine. As a matter of fact, I've got a little bit of shoulder pain now, right? Uh, just for the information of all other students, I just want to add what Padmakar used to be, how good a dedicated person or a individual he is. I think it is a very, very interesting thing. What a wonderful human being he is. You know, we are all human beings, we interact with each other, but connecting with a personal kind of thing is something extraordinary. I used to be teaching the same subject what I have taught you people also, but I developed a swelling in my left hand, and I was teaching keeping my hand like this in his class. And do you know what he did? He sent me a lot of details about mudras, what can be done, how I can get relief, etc. That's Padmakar as a student, and I'm very sure he is a wonderful human being. I think all of you should learn a lot of things from him. I think it has been wonderful that he spoke and he did address all of you. And I think to get a student like Padmakar, we should be fortunate. I'm very frank with you. Thank you, Padmakar. It was wonderful talking to you. It is nice to see you. Are you married?
Not yet, sir.
Not yet. Okay. Okay. Wonderful seeing you and listening to you. I kept listening to you through and through. I kept my anonymity. I really didn't want to speak to you in the beginning. Wonderful. Very nice.
Yeah.
Right. You can continue with the questions of the students, please.
Yes. Thank you, Sridhar sir. Even I wanted to share my experience with Padmakar because he's been a wonderful student, and it was very nice teaching him. And I'm very proud to say that he was our student. I mean, I still get goosebumps looking at his attitude towards life and his behavior. I mean, there's nobody to match him. So it's really wonderful. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And thank you, Padmakar, for joining us. We are really blessed to have you.
Yeah,
Yes, I think
it's my pleasure actually.
yeah.
To be able to do.
Yeah, you're very humble, and I must say it's very hard to find students like you. Okay, so I think we can open for questions. Anybody has questions, you can chat or you can ask. Anything is fine. Any questions? Some of them will try to send you questions directly on the chat. So
Yeah, that's also fine.
nothing is there so far.
I just made a question, a point
Yes.
on you should ask questions in the end, and very few
Yes.
people are doing this. You should change, guys. This is not good. The more questions you all ask, it shows how curious you are, and it builds an interest in the interviewer to select you. Okay, so try developing it in regular things, like they could talk like this. Try to get more insights on whatever topic is being spoken. So I see some questions. Can we negotiate for higher salary in a service-based company like Cognizant, Infosys? As a fresher, you have very less bargaining power. I would say don't look at money when you are starting your career. Look at what learning you can get, because money will come automatically as and when you learn more and put it to use in the company. Try to add value to the company. The more value you add, company will recognize and give you. If not this company, then there will be some other company which will be able to do that. So as a fresher, don't try to negotiate. If you feel that yes, this company is paying less, attend some other company off campus perhaps, because there are some financial conditions also for some people. But I would say most of the software companies, like the ones you are mentioning, Cognizant, Infosys, these offer kind of a standard package. They might be a little less compared to some core EC companies, let's say, but still there is a lot to learn in these companies. I know my friends, they are there in these kind of companies, and the initial 2 years have been a huge boost to their career because of the kind of training they get there. So I hope I've answered that. Then
Padmakar, is it okay if I add
yes,
something on that?
yes, sure, sir.
Yeah, just for the sake of, this is a very interesting thing. When Padmakar took the placement, this kind of thinking was not there as a differential salary. It was only offered to IITs and NITs. But you are very, very lucky. The juniors who are there, who are writing, they are very lucky. Why I'm saying that is, you name the company, the differential salary has been brought to you. You are writing Cognizant right now. You are writing right now. They have Gen C higher, elite, then normal placement. In Cognizant itself, there are 3 categories. If you take one batch senior to you, we have students who are placed at a higher salary, who are placed at a lower salary. Both are available. So therefore, you name the company, you name Infosys, TCS, any of them. They have all come into the status of taking on a differential salary. So if you are good, you can bet for a higher salary. There is no need of negotiation. They are giving you the opportunity. And as Padmakar rightly said, core companies like Bosch, they are already on the higher salary. They are already at 5 lakh per annum as compared to Cognizant or Infosys or any of them. It is a product company and a core company. It is at a higher salary. So there is nothing to negotiate there. So the salary itself is higher. So therefore, you don't have to worry about the differential salary. As he rightly said, your value is the most important thing. What is your capability? That will give you the salary accordingly. That's what it is. So therefore, I think you are very, very fortunate. I used to fight with Infosys and others to give the same differential salary to my students. It was not happening in Padmakar's time. But now it is definitely happening. Even an average college is going to get this opportunity of differential salary. It's a great thing. But only thing is, you should be able to compete with all others. That's very, very important. Just because I imagine or dream of a higher salary, it is not that I'm going to be given. If you are capable, then you're going to crack it and get it. I think that is what it is. So I hope it was fine that I wanted to give you some more input into that.
Yes, sure. I didn't know about this background of the question, so it was good that you explained it.
They are giving 7 lakhs.
Okay, that's actually quite a lot for a fresher. But yeah,
in the same batch,
the competition
now
will be high.
22 batch, they are going through a Gen C of CTS, which is at a higher package.
That's a wonderful opportunity. I think now COVID has made all these companies wage a talent war of sort. So they are trying to hire best talent. So if you're highly talented, if you're qualified, money will come to you. You don't have to worry about it.
Perfect.
There is another question. How much depth is required in knowing about the company? You need to know in which areas they operate. That's something that you should easily obtain from their company's website. Go to their website, see what areas they're working. If there is an area of interest which you have, then open those particular blogs that are released in public and make use of those. That should be sufficient for you to know about what the company does.
Hi,
Next,
Padmakar.
yeah,
Hello. Hi, Padmakar. My name's Ajay. How are you?
I'm good, Ajay. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm doing well. So, Padmakar, I have a question for you. So I think there's a placement interview coming for me like next week or something. Okay, I have it in Cognizant. So the thing is, the technical part, I'm kind of scared for technical part. So if I do well in the HR interview or be well or talk well with the managers, is it okay, or should I just I'll just work on my technical during this time, but I'm just asking, is it okay if I have a more open and more, you know, what do you say that word? Like go like such an open interaction or something like that. As in, it's very interactive with this thing, and it's a very good learner and stuff like that. Can I work on that?
I don't know how the interview schedule is planned for you guys now, but generally it's first the technical interview. If you do well, then they will send you to HR interview. So I, if you are going to do well in technical interview, you will anyways go to the HR interview, and there in HR interview mostly they'll not ask anything about your technical part. They'll probably ask you to explain your project, to know how well you communicate. And yeah, I don't really know how you want to go to HR or managers directly. If at all you know somebody there, try not to contact them. It sends a bad impression. In fact, there are many people here who in Bosch also, like they have their kids also now in a way to, or they are going to join. Some of them were in RNS EC department. So this person did not reveal in the interview that his father is working in Bosch, because it sends a wrong message. And people generally don't like to take people just like this. So I don't know what channels you are having access to, but I would say just focus on technical. No, since you're talking about Cognizant, these kind of companies, no programming languages well. Check their website where they are operating to ask thoughtful question. Use those opportunities that I spoke about in the interview, and try to be relaxed. Do your preparation well. It's very important for any company, be it core software, be it um, uh, pure EC kind of company. Know the subject well. If you know it well, you don't have to be worried about the interview. That's how I feel. If you're well prepared, you should ace the interview always. So focus on that, or other things will automatically come out, is what I feel.
Thank you. All right.
Okay, so there's another question: is it necessary to be good in VLSI for Robert Bosch? No, you don't have to be necessarily good in VLSI, because Bosch is a very diverse company, I can say. It operates a lot in software side. So it depends on what you want to highlight in your resume. Based on that, you will be able to guide the interview. So if you are not good in VLSI, don't put any project, or don't try to talk about VLSI. There's another thing that I do for freshers. I ask, what is your favorite subject? And then I ask questions based on that, or whichever subject they say. So try to focus it on those areas where you are good at whenever you get such opportunities. Sorry for the background noise. There's some work going on. Yeah. So there's another question. What should be the answer for what are your weakness? Yeah, a good question. So what is the interviewer really looking at? They are looking for you to know more about yourself, but try to answer it in such a way that whatever weakness you are saying is a strength to the company or to the team. So for example, some people say that my weakness is I work a lot. I've heard this in an answer. So it's a weakness for the person, but it's a asset or an advantage for the company. Another weakness, and try to be positive as much as possible in whenever you're answering such questions. They are answering this not to trick you or anything, but it's another opportunity for you to shine in the interview. So you can think of answering in such a way that it seems like it's a weakness, but actually it's advantageous to the company. What are the tools and technologies Bosch use that EC students learn, like you told you work using MATLAB Simulink? Yeah. So Bosch is actually using a lot of technologies. Like I said, it's a huge company with very different domains. On a broader level, what I can say is for EC students, MATLAB is something that you learn in your curriculum, be it in signal processing or image processing. So that is something that you can definitely make use of. And I think recently some Python was an elective. I'm not very sure with the change of syllabus. So there are some whichever programming is there. If you are good at programming and if you want to pursue a career in programming, you can learn those. Apart from that, most of the tools that Bosch use are internal tools which you will not have exposure to in your engineering. So there I suggest you to focus more on your projects on microcontroller, perhaps, and don't only stick to the ones that are there in your syllabus. Try to go beyond it. In my time, I remember we had some workshops, ARM processor workshop, and some ESOC. Many things were there. So these kind of things, try to learn a little bit more about it as well, and showcase them. So the in EC students, what we look for in Bosch is very simple. Do you know your engineering basics, control systems? If you know, especially in my team, we only look at that. But whichever subject you say you are good at, if you know that well, then we will be like, this person can be trained easily, let's select this person. So that's how we do in Bosch. We don't expect you to know each and everything from EC student, but MATLAB Simulink is one of them which you have access to, so make use of it. Scrolling down, what to answer when we don't know something, very important. When you don't know something, try to get some clue on what it could be, but answer it in such a way that you're trying to answer. Don't say I don't know this, sir. It's not good. If we ask you some basic question and you say you don't know, if it's a highly advanced topic, then yeah, you can gauge that it's something that you probably won't know. The interviewer also is testing your upper limit. That's what the interviewer does when they ask you some advanced questions. But if it's something basic, try to answer it, but you can also be answering it in such a way that I think it is like this, but it could be something else. So I'm guessing it's probably this. So like this, you should answer whenever you don't know something. Try attempting it. It shows a lot of character in the interview. I hope that was good for the question. Is it enough having good knowledge on gate subjects for core companies like Bosch? So in Bosch, yeah, if you are well prepared for gate kind of subjects, then it's always good whichever company you are going in the core domain. In Bosch also it will help. You can also go for more core companies like Texas Instruments, Intel, these kind of companies for EC students. Yeah. Next question, what all things we should include when interviewer asks, tell me about yourself? Yeah, so you can begin with uh, your CV or your resume for a short period of time. You can mention which semester you are studying, which branch you are there. Then you can move towards your personality traits. For example, you can say you are a good learner. You like to do some online courses in your free time. You can mention about your hobbies. If the hobbies are involving a team, like let's say basketball or football, then it shows that you are a team player. All these are cues that the interviewer will get. You can also, I remember the RNSIT candidate mentioned about short-term goal. um, what the candidate, where the candidate wants to see in the next 2-3 years. Um, so after finishing this, my immediate question was, what is your long-term goal? So it kind of steered the interview in a very nice way. So these are some things that I think you can tell. Your interest, you can also tell your favorite subject or area of interest, so that the interview steers in that direction. What should be the answer for things you regret in your life? Never been asked this question. So it depends. Most likely you can tell on regretting some opportunity that you probably missed and how you made up for it. For example, let's say there was a course, an elective that you could not take, or you could not participate in some workshop, maybe because it was held virtually, or it was or you were not feeling well when that was happening. So you can try to put focus on that. That is probably something you regret missing out, and then how you made up for it. For example, you can say I took some online course for this for the same subject, something like that. I don't really feel this will be asked in your technical round. It will be asked in your HR round, and there it is more on how you are as a human being and what are the things that you regret. um, and the company will get a fairly good, or the HR will get a fairly good idea of who you are. And for example, if you say I missed this opportunity because of so and so reason, then the company will be like, oh yes, when this opportunity is given to the candidate, they're likely not to miss it. Can we add family background while introducing ourselves? Prefer not to. It will not add much value. You will be most likely wasting that opportunity. But you can add it in a way that shows you in a different form. For example, you can say my brother helped me uh, create an interest in programming, let's say, as an example. um, so you got motivated into programming because of the so and so family member, whoever has more influence on you, from a way that it helps the company. Yeah, try to add background in that manner. Don't just say that yes, my parents are so and so, and yeah, we are a native place. All these will not matter a lot, and try not to use that waste that opportunity with giving just basic things. Then there is a question on some psychology facts in internet. It's my hobby. Can I And it also will create a bad impact when you take interviews, right? So what will you? Okay, so it's about somebody knows psychology facts and wants to mention it as a hobby. If just by knowing facts, I don't think it's worth mentioning. I'm part of a mental health ambassador team in Bosch. I had to go under a lot of training for doing this. It's not just knowing some facts that people read in internet and try to use it. That I wouldn't put that in my CV, that I know psychology facts or psychology in general. Uh, it will uh, not make much difference in my view. So there will not be any bad impact as such. um, but yeah, if you know more than just psychological fact, let's say you have done some certification from some course, then then you can add it's a good thing. It shows that you are probably empathetic, you can understand other people's emotions and help them. So in that manner it would be a beneficial, but just facts, no. What is the usual dress code for online interview? I suggest to be dressed professional as much as possible, but don't go overboard and sit in a suit or anything. A casual formal is fine. Online interview, yes, nobody would be seeing whatever is there, beyond your shoulders. So, um, but I have a suggestion here. If you wear formals, this is what I've seen in me as well, you kind of feel more confident than how you are usually, and you need to kind of it creates an attitude, I can say, for that short duration of time. Once you wear these kind of clothes, it gives a feeling from within that yeah, you're prepared now, you're serious about this interview. um, by serious I don't mean not smiling or anything like that, but you are um, giving more importance to the interview. So dress professionally. um, Even if it's an online interview, think it's a in-person interview, and that should be fine. How do we try to excel in the field of VLSI? Do we focus upon what do we focus upon? How do we prepare? So in the field of VLSI, I know some friends of mine who are there. Uh, Basically, you should know your core subjects in and out, um, and try to attend some workshops, um, which need not just be organized by your college. There are many other forums. um, LinkedIn is probably a place where you can also get to know more about these courses. And there are plenty of online courses, nowadays they are free for audit, but if you want a certificate also, with a small fee you can get a certificate. Try to browse through courses from reputed websites. Don't just do some course on Udemy and say, I know VLSI very well. Maybe the person who is doing it has taught you well, but it won't carry much weightage because it's not recognized as a very good place to have specialized skill in. It's good for small here and there, little depth or overview kind of topics you can easily get from Udemy, but not in depth. Coursera is good, edX is good, and both of these are relatively well priced, not too expensive. So I would suggest go there, study more, do more courses, and when you are preparing, prepare the subjects that you have exposure to. Like VLSI is a subject, right? So lab, you also have access to Verilog VHDL lab there. Try to do something more than what is there in your lab assignments. Try to learn something from the internet. Use this opportunity to um, in your college to practice something else, like a hobby, kind of hobby project, I can say. And I think that's what mini projects are all about. So use those, and if you have done something like this, make sure you mention it in the top list of your project, so that the interview goes in that direction and you can explain more. Will the interviewers be jovial or serious all the time? Depends on the interviewer. I like to be jovial so that the candidate does not get scared or become nervous because they are under pressure. I can understand that. There are some people who might be serious. They are probably it's their personality, I would say. So I can't really say that they will always be like this. Depends on their time of day as well. So we are supposed to take interviews out of our working time. It's not part of our 9 hours job. So it's extra. Some people like it. But in Bosch, I've seen most of the interviews are pretty jovial. So they'd be happy to see a new face. Does NPTEL course add a difference in a resume? Of course, if you're done certification, it will add. Can we add specific skill set like personal trait as well in resume? Does it make sense to add things apart from just technical stuff? Sure, you can add, but don't go overboard and make that the main focus of your resume. I usually have 1-page resume. I don't prepare more than that. When I was in college, I had maximum of two pages. Don't go beyond 2 pages. If there is not much content to mention, stick to 1 page if possible. And there mention these traits or these non-technical stuff in such a way that they create interest in the interviewer. Yeah, don't write too much about too much in description is what I'm saying. Don't describe whatever that skill is. Just enough. If the interviewer feels they need to ask, they will ask. If not, they'll not. So it's fine if you mention personality trait, but make use of the introduction to also highlight them. It's a good thing. I come to know Bosch hire mostly for embedded system, but what if candidate more into LSI? Yes, so this person has asked me rightly. They will hire more into embedded system. This is because most of the Bosch business comes from these kind of domains. So candidate for VLSI, Bosch might not be the best place. Although there is a small department which does this also. But yeah, you can think of perhaps some other company which is more into VLSI itself than coming to Bosch with VLSI background. Chances are less of you getting a work that will help you. So you can choose companies accordingly. What kept you motivated during placement training process? So, well, simplest thing is get a job quickly. I was not really looking into what kind of package I was going to get. Like Sridhar sir also mentioned, we did not have that freedom also. And yeah, so I was placed in 2 companies. One was Aricent and second one was Bosch. Aricent was the interview was one of the best interviews I've ever given, although I did not go there. But I think, yeah, I also had some other companies as well, but could not go there. So maybe the question is coming from the perspective that, yeah, if you don't get selected, how to keep motivated maybe. So I would say keep improving your interview. One more tip that because of the discussion I can tell you is after the interview is over, you can introspect back on how the interview went, what went well, what didn't go well according to you. Okay, you don't have to ask this to the interviewer. What went well, what didn't go well according to you. Make a list and then write down how can you improve things and focus on that. Ultimately, if you are adding value, there will be a company which will select you. Yeah, so keep keep on going. Just because people don't get, in their dream company, which usually comes maybe like in the beginning of the year, just because they did not select you at this point of time doesn't mean you can't work there in future. Keep trying other companies, and make sure you have some higher goals for you. So one of the goal for me was that I should fund my own higher education. So this was a goal for me. So keep a goal like that for people who want to do higher education on their own, after, let's say, working for 2 years experience. They can think of doing it in this way. Keep a goal in front of you, and make sure you do some introspection and some corrective actions about how you can improve things in your interview. I think that should help you keep motivated. Is it okay to add projects which are different from the role or field which you're applying to? Example, in related roles, is it okay to add software projects? Okay, so let's say you are going to a core EC company and you have a project on some software. I think that's what the question is talking about, different field or a different role. Usually it won't matter a lot. Depends on how many projects you are mentioning. If you are mentioning 2-3, then definitely make sure this is at the bottom in the list. If you have too many projects of the field which you have, only focus on that. That gives the impression that this person is into this subject only, and it would be helpful for core EC companies. If you go into software companies, it would be better if you can show some dynamism. Like you definitely can add the software projects that you have done. So you can add, but make sure you don't add too many things in your resume under projects which are very, very, very different. If they're related, somewhat related to each other, it's fine. I hope I was able to answer the questions. If somebody wants some more clarity of the questions I've tried to answer, they can also unmute and ask maybe.
Yeah, and in the meantime, Padmakar, I would request you to leave your email ID and your LinkedIn profile so that they can get in touch with you.
Sure.
I can request the students to get in touch with you, just before the Bosch interviews happen on campus. So that is going to be more, close to the interview. They'll have a lot of doubts during the preparation, so they can reach out to you then.
Yeah, sure. I'll be happy to help. I think now also they are having some campus engagement officer or something from Bosch side. So those people will also help you.
Okay.
They are people who are 2-3 years experience in Bosch. So they have. There was a request. I couldn't apply because I have 6 years of experience now. So for that reason, somebody else will be there. Should not be a
That's
problem.
great. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's nice.
And I'm going to ping my LinkedIn profile.
Yes. And I think we have already overshot our time. It's already 10:16. So if there are no questions, I guess we can close. Are there any questions from anybody?
I think we don't have a questions, ma'am. We'll wind up then.
That's it. Yeah.
From Department of EC, we would like to thank Mr. Padmakar for taking his valuable time and addressing the gathering and sharing his experience regarding how to face any interviews. Thank you, Mr. Padmakar.
Yeah, thank you. It was nice to come back and contribute my bit.
Yeah, thank you. We are signing off for the day. Thank you, guys. Thanks for joining.
All the best to all the students. Bye.
Thank you, Padmakar. See you.
Thank you. Thank you all.